the chance for a small Q&A. About Drinkit. The product is designed to be a complete industrial solution for beverage industries. So this does not only want to say that we have a solution for beer, but also we have customers in the wine industry and the soft drinks industry. These type of businesses tend to use the same procedures and the same kind of work, kind of production. For beer, of course, there are more stages. Like soft drinks, you have few stages of production, but for beer you will have more, so there is a difference. But the solution is equipped to handle most of these products or all of these products. Standard MS Dynamics NAV, other types of products like furniture or production, assembly production. But we will focus on the beverage industry. It is of course built on the latest release of Microsoft Dynamics NAV, and Norik will keep the focus on upgrading every time that Microsoft upgrades. So at this moment we are now upgrading the product to NAV 2013. We will release it in the first quarter of next year, for worldwide of course. And so as a customer you are always sure that you have possibility to upgrade to the latest release. And we also have a Microsoft certification. People of Microsoft come here to check how we have developed our solution, and they audit the solution and give their okay. So we have a certification for that. We try to, or we attempt to cover all the beverage business requirements, and this means a lot of functionality needs to be covered, from sales to marketing, over purchasing, manufacturing, analysis and reporting, and using a business intelligence tool, a BI tool. Also side products like contract management, plant maintenance is covered by the product. We like to have a complete coverage of all the functionality. Of course, this is a lengthy task, and the product is growing, and at this moment a very large product with a lot of granules. A standard turnkey solution, and we continue to listen to our customers and try to find or look for possibilities to add more functionality to the product, and of course based on the business needs that our customers have. The first customers now are running the solution for 10 years, so as long Norik as from the start started with the Drinkit product, and even our first customer where we actually designed the Drinkit product from is still working with the solution. So we have a rather large track record about this functionality. The architectural solution is built around 4 software, Microsoft softwares. One is of course the Microsoft Dynamics NAV. Some people know NAV as Navision. Microsoft bought a few years ago a Danish software product, Navision, and incorporated that product into its own software suite for businesses, and now it's called Microsoft Dynamics NAV, and this covers the functionality we added to the product covers taxes, discounts, deposit management, loyalty management, and so on. Now today we are going to discuss the production and quality adaptations in the product. So it's a Microsoft Dynamics NAV as a core, and around that core we have developed granules for the beverage industry. We work with for unstructured data, because in an ERP system you have two kinds of data. Structured data, like a purchase invoice, would be structured because you have a header, you have lines, you have specific demands for every field on the screen. But you also have unstructured data like a plan, like a Word document which contains some text, like an Excel, and so on. So SharePoint is the product that covers the storage of unstructured data. And SharePoint with Microsoft Dynamics NAV will work together. You can store URLs pointing to documents stored on the SharePoint server. The third piece of software is Microsoft Dynamics CRM, where Salesforce automation, services, marketing, and mobile access to data from the system is handled. Also, of course, the product works closely with Microsoft Outlook, meaning that the contacts that are stored in or the CRM database or the Dynamics database are synchronized between the two systems. So your sales representative working on his mobile would have access on the sales quotes, and the sales quotes are handled within the ERP system. It could be a feasible solution for your sales representatives. They can work offline, and when they access the server, these quotes they entered are replicated to the database. And on top of that, you have the Drinkit Analytics granule, which will cover, it's a BI solution, which will cover the reporting and statistical business needs. With this solution, you can create, using Excel for instance, you can create very beautiful and complex reports with all the data stored in the below three systems. The solution also works on a normal Office PC, in a web browser, on a mobile device, and you can also use the system on premises and in the cloud. So with that picture we have a complete architecture for the beverage industry. Another picture about that, the Drinkit ERP system contains for finance a set of 10 extra granules: tax management, deposit management, discount management, transportation management, where you can have a load plan for your own trucks or for external trucks with routes and so on. EMCS is the government, requirements for the government, e-business. SSCC tracking, an extra granule on top of the tracking granule of Microsoft Dynamics NAV, where you can track pallets, shipping units. Tailored sales granule with tailored screens to quickly enter the sales orders. Shop management, loyalty management, where you can give presents to your customers, and the financial procedures around these the disloyalty management is handled in the system, and sponsoring and events management, which is certainly necessary in the beverage business. Production and quality with two granules. You have beverage manufacturing and quality management. In Microsoft Dynamics NAV, there is no mention about quality management. So for food industries and in the future, practically all kinds of industries, a quality management granule should be available. And we already developed that for Drinkit. We have contracts management, where contracts with bars and pubs and so on can be closed. Part of the contract management is the plant maintenance, where the work done by plant maintenance employees can be recorded, costs can be stored, and work orders can be created in that granule. Drinkit CRM contains Salesforce automation, service, marketing, and a mobile solution. One of the examples is the perfect execution granule built for Heineken, where Salesforce employee visits selling points and will make assessments about the selling point in order to have the product visible on every selling point. And based on that, statistics are made and plans are made to improve that kind of visibility. And then we have the analytics granule on top of all that. Drinkit is available worldwide. I mentioned Heineken as a big customer, and Carlsberg is also a customer that develops and deploys the product worldwide. So we have even a small star here in La Réunion. It's a small island in the Indian Ocean. It's in more than 20 countries we sell the product. Of course, other countries will follow as we go on. This is a list of some references we have. You probably know some of them, not all of them. It's going from very small breweries, like the 961 beer brewery in Lebanon is, well, it's 10 people working there, a very small brewery, but still very interesting. And then of course we have Carlsberg and Heineken as bigger breweries. They tend to use our system as an alternative to their SAP solution for the smaller and medium-sized breweries. So in fact we install it in smaller breweries, but yet again the brewery in Burundi, for instance, has more than 1 million hectoliter per year. So that is not very small, it's very large. But for Heineken, this is a small or medium-sized brewery. Okay, this was the introduction. Let's start with some production and quality granule, and I'd like to start with the planning. Let's start with planning. Okay, let's stop the PowerPoint. Sorry. Okay, why Drinkit? PowerPoint was not finished yet. Why Drinkit? It's a unique solution. We have developed it for 10 years, so we have lots of experience in that area. It's international. It's standard for you as a customer. We made a lot of adaptations, but we are managing these adaptations. So for you, it's a standard product. It's when it's built on Microsoft Dynamics NAV, so the people who know that product is are familiar with the user-friendly interface, so it's also user-friendly and easy to implement. And it's selected by Microsoft as a strategic focus solution. Okay, and go to the products. This is the starting screen. For those who don't know MS Dynamics NAV, this is a standard Dynamics NAV RTC screen. Dynamics NAV up till version 2009 comes with two flavors. One is the native interface and the other is the RTC role-tailored client interface. Now in 2013 the native interface is not does not exist anymore, so I will not focus on that interface. Customers up to now can have the choice between two interfaces. But as from 2013, only one interface is the one that is shown in the demo, is available, and all processing is done in that interface. If you see, I'll just give a short introduction about the system. You will see that every user has his own role center. As a user, you are linked to a role, let's say a production planner or a production employee, or a purchaser, an accountant within the company. They have a certain role, and linked to that role, an interface, a screen, example of screens or are available, and other screens are not available. So within the role center, a person has, a user has access to only the screens that he is allowed to use. And the first screen shows access to things a user often used. Let's say that I only need I'm a production planner, and I only plan the production of the brewery, so I only need access to a limited set of items. I can call this list my item list, and I will work within the system with that item list. So there are maybe 10,000 items in the database, but I'm only working on a selected list of items, and I will see them in the My Items list. An accountant could have my customers, my vendors. It is a selection of master data that I will use within my application. I also have tailored lists for my role, as I'm now logged in as a production planner, and I will have access to the list of planned production orders, the firm planned production orders, and the released production orders, and I will do some processing on these orders. I also have production order lists, and they are shown as inboxes on my screen. And I also want to monitor the quality system, so I have one lot test that is still not done by the quality department, and I have 23 in-process tests that are not done by the quality department, so I have to phone them and see what's happening there. Within the NAV, I can also look to my mails and my Outlook connection. This is the connection with Outlook I was talking about in the PowerPoint. Within the system, you can have a box that shows you your unread mails and maybe your to-dos and calendar points. I also have possibility to, the system is tailored with a notification, and when an event in the system happens, let's say that somebody changes the design of a certain product, the production planner can get a notification about that. So, and also a link to the page where that action has happened. So he can click on it and he can go to the page and look what's happening there. If the planner needs to approve something, then approvals can be a part of the notification list. So this is his starting screen, his home screen, and all the relevant information is gathered in the home screen to quickly access all these points. It's like a desktop. You know, in Windows you have a desktop. You can store programs there that you often use. Here you have the same, but with ERP functions. Okay, shortly about that. If we now let's go to the product design. And product design is a basic element of the ERP system, and I will just go into that to explain about some screens in the Drinkit solution. Everything starts with setting up correct items. So let's go to the item list. Here you will see this is a list of items, and let's populate that, and all the items that are stored in inventory, finished products, but also semi-finished products and raw materials, spare parts and so on, are available in that list. You can filter that list to only see the items where you are interested in. Let's say that you are a purchaser for raw materials, for malt and sugar. You only need to see the raw materials. Raw materials are divided in the raw material group, and you can filter out that group. You can see here that you have filters and you can filter that out. An item, let's say that we now take one example here, the Kronos Premium Crate. It's a crate that is being 24 bottles of 33 centiliter are in there. It's beer. It's our special Kronos beer that we created for demo purposes. And here you will see that this item has a production bill of material and a routing. We come to the routing later. If you double click on that item, you see that the item card opens on the item page. I will just go and filter that into our blue warehouse. Okay. So, is that correct? Sorry, blue is unique. Okay. Right. So this is the item card, and we will see here all the information about the item. Item category code, it's a beer product, it's a product group. You can divide your items into categories and product groups for filtering purposes. Also see that if within that location there is an inventory of 1,000 crates, and there is also an ongoing production for 1,000 crates. So our possible available inventory after the production would be 2,000. In that card, all the information about the item is stored. One of the important things is that you have costing methods set up, standard cost setup, financial setup of an item. Every page shows a certain type of certain types of fields of the item card. These are the replenishments, where you will have the make or buy decision, production order or purchase order. Whether or not it's make to order or make to stock. If you have a product that you make for every order your customer does, you have a production, or do you have a make stock, you will produce it on stock and sell it to your customers on that stock. It's a decision you have to make. You can change the decision afterwards, but you have to make the decision in order for the planning system to work. You also have vendor information, purchase information, which you can enter even if you have a production order replenishment system. In case you change that decision later on to buy the product, then you can have a vendor number and a lead time calculation. Planning or parameters for planning. I will not go into detail to these parameters because we have a short time to do that, so let's not go into that, but the general information is that here you have planning parameters and you can control the MRP calculations working on these parameters. Let's say a safety stock or a minimum stock quantity will be entered at this level, and MRP will take that into account. You also have item tracking information where you can decide how this product is being tracked. And we come back to tracking and item tracking with lot numbers and so on later on. Quality, you can also enter quality parameters on the item level. So this is the item card, and linked to the item card, except when it is a raw material or a spare part, you need to link the item also to a bill of material, or maybe in the beverage industry also called a recipe. Okay, so let's go to the bill of material for the item. Okay, the bill of material was 91,810. Okay. So here okay, I will just, this is not right. Premium bottle. Let's go to the bill of material to some other parts. We have the items, it's bill of material A101. Okay, I have it here. So that's the bill of material. The bill of material will define the components that are used within to produce that product. It's a one-level bill of material, so you define here one level, but you can have production items within the bill of material of another production item, and so you create multiple levels. So in order to fill a crate of Croris Premium, we need a certain amount of hectoliters bright beer premium. But bright beer premium also have a bill of material, and where a rough beer is needed, and the rough beer will have a bill of material where the green beer is needed, and the green beer will have a bill of material where the wort is needed. For every level of production, there will be a production order for wort creation, which will store the wort in a fermentation tank. Then the fermentation process will produce green beer, the filtration process will produce rough beer, and then we filter it again, and we have bright beer in our tanks or on the bottling lines. So that's a possible process. You can also define more sub-processes, or you can define less sub-processes. It is up to you to make it as complex or as simple as you want. Well, in all these processes, it is important that all the components are tracked and that the system will keep track of all the stock levels that are produced intermediate. So now we have for the crate, we have bright beer as a component to fill up a crate. We have an empty bottle, we have a crate of course, which are, this could be returnables, PR stands for returnable bottle, and a returnable crate. So if bottles and crates return to the brewery, they are stored in the production inventory and used in the filling process. We have some labels to stick on the bottles, and some glue and a crown. This is a very simple setup of a recipe for bottling. We can define items. We can also define phantoms here. We have phantom possibility. We can also document our recipe with blank text lines. We have a quantity in a certain unit of measure, and this quantity is for a certain unit of measure. So we could also use production units of measure and define our bill of materials for production units of measure instead of base units of measure that are defined on the item card. We can define scrap percentages. Maybe here 1% of the bottles breaks during production. Then we can already in our recipe include a scrap percentage. So if the scrap percentage is, the system will provide 1% more bottles, or will look for 1% more bottles if it's when the production is launched. Okay, so that's our recipe, and the recipe needs to be certified in order to be used in the database. We can develop, put our recipe under development, but as long as it is under development, we cannot create production orders for that product. So it's actually blocked for production. Because if you are changing a bill of material, and in the same time somebody could launch a production, this would lend, this is go to a lot of very complex scenarios. Okay, so that's the bill of material. If we now go to the production bill of material for B5 and so on, we start with the wort. The wort is wort premium. Then we have the green beer premium. We have the rough beer premium. And then we have our this is the product. Then we have the bright beer, and this bright beer goes into where we have the green beer, and we have the green beer premium, and we have the wort premium. So here these four items are within one supply chain for our crate. So if we go now to the bill of material of the bright beer, we will find the rough beer and some water, maybe to clean lines or to filter out. If we go to our next product, our next semi-finished product, the rough beer, we have green beer as components. We go to the green beer, we have our wort. as base, and if we go to the wort, we go to our malt and hops and spent grains. Here is something special. As a negative quantity in the bill of material, this means that this spent grains product is actually a side product. It will be stored at the end of the production. There will be per hectoliter 18 kilogram of stock created, but not as an output, but as an accidental negative consumption. And of course, for you it's stock plus, so it's been added to the inventory, and you can sell it or you can destroy it, but it is a special use for side products, which is also something that is like yeast and spent grains, is something that is being used in the beverage industry, side products. So that's a special case. Spent grains is a special case. Okay, so now we have a complete structure. We have a complete structure showing from the raw material to the end product, the crate of Kronos beer. And in order to create a crate of Kronos beer, we need to have all these semi-finished products. Okay, so this is the system that the setup that is necessary to start with production and quality measures. Okay, one note about versions. For every bill of material, you can also do some small changes, and you can keep track of the changes you made to the bill of material or recipes by using product versions. And here, let's look at this screen here, and we can create a list of versions with a starting date and have this list per version code. The system will use the first valid version on the starting date to produce. One of the limitations to the system is that you cannot have multiple versions active at the same time. You have one active version. In some cases, we have customers that produce the beer in 2 or 3 different sites, and of course the water conditions on every site are different, so you have another recipe for every site. At this moment in the product, this is not possible, because you have one active version. One of the changes we have planned is that we can have multiple active versions, and when you launch a production, you can tell the system, I want to produce version 1, 2, or 3, based on maybe the site information where you produce it for. But that is not the case at this moment. Okay, so that is the bill of material and version management. And what one thing I need to discuss is the quality setup. For every product, you can define the quality tests that are activated when the quality when the products are put into stock. We go back to the home button, and let's see at our materials here. We can define products with an item tracking code. Let's see that we have a tracking code here. Yeah, okay, this one will have the premium keg 50 liters, will have one. So if we go to the item tracking tab here, we see that the item tracking code is brew lot, and we can go to the brew lot here. Like this, lot number. Okay, so here you define the the use of lot numbers within the system. So lot-specific tracking means that this type of product will have complete lot tracking. And lot number information must exist. There is also a lot number information card attached to a lot number. And in that card you can block or de-block a lot number. When it's blocked, you cannot use it for consumption or for further processing. You cannot sell it, for instance. But when it's unblocked, you can use it freely in the system. For drink it, we also added to have FIFO tracking. So you can assign blocked lot numbers in the FIFO tracking system. You can allow that or you cannot allow that. So FIFO, first expired, first out, is a picking method that is being used when you automatically pick products from the warehouse, and the system will use the first expired, first out method to pick them. Do you want to include blocked lots with this FIFO calculation or not? You can have that here. Now, lot number information must exist. So that is the first setup you need to do in order to have quality tests installed for inbound lots. Next thing is that in the quality tab of the item card, you define the quality standards. The quality standard for this item has a number, and we can go to that. Advanced. Okay, this is our quality standard. We update that. Okay. So here there's one quality measure that needs to be taken. Here you can define a list of quality measures to take when a keg, Currys Premium keg, is being posted to inventory. What happens is that when a production of that keg is being done, it will be blocked into the warehouse until you have a successful execution of the quality test. So in this case, alcohol by volume is being measured, and it needs to have a value between 3 and 4.9. So it cannot be lower than 3, and it has to have a minimum value of 4.9. There are no upper values. Oh yeah, there is a maximum value of 5.10. So here you have some limits, out of spec limits, often called, for these products. And you also have warning levels that you can install for that test. And it can also be higher than 10. So you can set up all kinds of parameters for a lot test. And it's important that the lot is only issued or released to further processes when these tests are successful, or when a quality manager gives the test an indication that it is not successful but usable in further processes. It's a decision under concession. Lot number under concession can be created. So that's important. That setup we added to the item card to control lot tests on that item. Okay. Now we've talked about the product design. Let's go further, setting up the brewery. And brewery setup. If we go back to our roll center, maybe close the door. The brewery setup will be done in our capacity granule, and we can set up. We have to set up 3 types of resources. One is work centers, that are departments within our brewery, We can have internal work centers or subcontractors, which are also work centers but with a special indication. Then we have machine centers which are part of the work centers. One example of work centers, here we have the work center, we have the brew house, we have fermentation, filtration, cellars, a packaging department, process utilities, cleaning, people that clean, and so on and so on. So we can make the quality department also has a work center. Here we can set up departments. Specifically about a machine center, a work center, sorry, is that you can set up a shop calendar per work center. So in this case, the quality check department works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the packaging only works for in a 2-shift system, and the third-party packaging works in a 1-shift system. So you can set up shifts for every work center. And within the work centers, you have machine centers. Machine centers, which can be a rather extensive list. And we also suggest, when setting up the system, that you set up a machine center per fermentation vessel, per lager tank, for every bottling line and so on. The system comes with already a populated list of machine centers only to be changed or updated by you when you install the system. Every machine center will inherit the calendar of the work center, but if you want to make it complex, you can have one machine center working on a 2-shift system where the work center works with a 1-shift system and so on. You can make mixes of shifts if you really like to make things complicated. And the system will keep track in every machine or work center of the calendar. If we look at the brewing queue, for instance, we can go to the calendar of the brewing queue, let's say a weekly calendar. And here you will see that the brewing queue will have 168 hours a week, 7 times 24, but our bottling lines work 80 hours a week, a 2-shift system of 40 hours per shift. So we can set up time availability per machine center. Here also you will see that machine centers can be actual persons working in the production. If there are bottlenecks, for instance, if you have a quality manager that is he's needed for every production to give it okay, he only works 8 hours a day, so well, when he's not available, you cannot produce. That's the rule. So for every bottleneck in your brewery, you can set up a machine center, and a machine center can be a real machine or can also be a person. Okay, that's the setup of our resources. Later on, we will use these resources in the routings. Next to the calendar, we have a task list. So here there is one task, one production order planned for that machine, and there is a setup time of 7 hours planned. It's planned from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. So 7 hours of time on the 30th of May 2011. The demo system works with a working date of end May 2011. That's why this task is planned like this. And the setup time will be on the machine load. So if we now compare the calendar against the task list, we get a machine load of 29.2% on Monday, the 30th of May. So you can also have load statistics or load figures. Of course, a load more than 100% means that you have not enough time to produce and you need to reschedule your production in order to balance out the load. I will come back to that later on. Okay, so that are our resources, work centers and machine centers. The third thing we need to do is set up location codes. The system comes with a predefined setup for location codes. You can follow that or you cannot follow that. To our experience, this would be the most feasible setup. Let's say here now a fermentation vessel here is actually a bin because a fermentation vessel is a machine that is used to produce green beer, but is also a storage facility where green beer is being stored for a certain time. And you need to keep track of the storage of the green beer, but also of the machine working and the costs attached to the fermentation vessel. So you also need to set up a warehouse or a location code or a bin code within that location code. So if we go to the warehouse department, then I can set up I can look for warehouse. No. I can define location codes. This is the list of location codes. There are location codes for duty purposes created, but we can have location codes for all the physical warehouses we have, but we can also create a location code for production. The brewery, the brew house could be a location code where semi-finished products or raw materials are stored. And within that production warehouse or location code, we can create bin codes. I'll just go back to my list and go to the advanced list here, and within my production warehouse I can have bin codes. And the setup here is that you set up a bin code for your bright beer tanks, for your fermentation vessels and so on. The silos, yeast propagation tank would be a bin code. And now you have a setup where you can do the work and store semi-finished products in a certain warehouse area. And you can keep track of all your semi-finished stock produced with all kinds of production orders. Maybe they ask me, sometimes they ask me, can we mix two brewing lots together into one fermentation tank? Yes, you can. You can say production order 1 is, the output of production order 1 is going into that fermentation tank, and the output of production order 2 is going into the same fermentation tank. In the end, there is an output of a certain lot number of green beer or rough beer. So you can have a lot of combinations possible to work with. So it's a very flexible system to work. But you need to set up location and bin codes for every storage facility. Okay, and that is the end of our setup process. We have set up our production resources. Let's go out of the screen here. I have set up quality measures and so on. And now we have everything to finish up our product design by defining routings. So I go back to my original screen where I can go and in the list of routings and define a routing for my product, my Cronus Premium case, where we start from. Here we have a routing that goes to a certain work center. The work center W500 is the packing department. We have maybe 2 packing lines. We cannot decide which line at the moment because we don't know. The Cronus Premium could be produced on line 1 or line 2. So we attach the task at first to the work center, and later on, when we plan the production, we can assign the task to a certain line. So W500 will at this moment be the resource where we will define it for. We can have a description. I would tend to use the description, also include into the description the name of the product for later references. Premium case 24 times 33, and it's packing like this, and I certify the routing. I can define setup time. We need 2 hours of setup time to set up the line, and we need 0.01 hour of runtime per crate. We can also define wait time, move time, and so on. So all times can be available. Okay, now our routing is set up, and we have a complete product to start producing. Okay. So we have the product design, we have the factory set up, we have a routing defined, we have quality measures defined, our product is ready to use. And we don't create production orders out of nothing. We need some demand to create a production order for. So let's now change our item and change it to make to stock item. Okay. And okay, like that, we have changed to make a stock item. Now in beverage industry, we don't have actual sales. We have actual sales, but actual sales sells from stock. If a customer orders, he wants the goods to be delivered immediately. He does not want to wait 3 or 4 weeks until your production is finished. In most beverage companies, an order will be followed by a delivery out of the warehouse. So that is the make-to-stock method of planning. And when you plan your production, it's possible that you don't have any sales orders. So you have to plan against a forecast. And forecasting is possible within the MS Dynamics NAV system. We can create a production forecast. We can create several production forecasts, maybe for testing reasons or simulation reasons, but we can define multiple forecasts. So if I have the forecast here, the 2012 weekly forecast, this is a weekly forecast on location blue. And And here we will see that for our Cronus Premium crate, in week 31, we have forecasted 1,000 crates of sales, and in week 32 the same, week 33 the same, and in week 34 maybe there is a football match planned there. We define that, or a World Cup or whatever, and in week 34 we would sell 3,000 crates, 3 times the weekly volume. These figures are manually entered. There is no tool in the system that calculates the figures for you. There is a tool, an external tool, which we use, and that external tool, demand planner, will calculate, based on historical figures, will calculate the forecast and will give you a file that you can import into the production forecast production forecast database in the system. So that's a possibility. But within Microsoft Dynamics NAV, there is no possibility to create the forecast. But you can enter it, and then the planning system will further use it as a demand. Here you will create something that we call independent demand without having any sales orders. If for some reason sales orders are already entered, they are taken into account if they are bigger, if the total quantity is bigger than the forecasted quantity. So if for some reason in week 32 I have a sales order of 2,000 crates, then the planned or the demand for that week would be 2,000 and not 1,000. So the forecast will be consumed by the real sales orders. Real sales orders have priority over the forecast. Okay, so I enter the forecast, and based on that forecast I can create my production planner. Production planner, or the planner, can launch a planning calculation. Just to show you. It's called the planning worksheet. I already created it. I will delete these lines and okay, and calculate it again. So actions, functions, calculate regenerative plan. I can decide to calculate MPS and MRP in one run or separately. If you have a production planning department that calculates the MPS based on forecasts, and later on the purchase department will calculate the MRP to order raw materials, you can divide these two calculations, and the purchase department will calculate in MRP mode, the production department would be calculating in MPS mode. So that could be possible, or you have one MRP run for all the items for the complete environment, and the results are being divided to the both departments. I also define the forecast that I use. I define my period, my planning period, and so my planning period. I can also have some parameters there. I only will calculate for beer, and I also calculate only for the blue location. I can skip these filters, but for now I have a simple calculation. This will be enough. Remember that I had 1,000 crates on stock, and I have 1,000 crates on production. And the system will use these and will now give me a proposition, a planning proposition. I need to start producing 15th of August. I need to start a production. The 12th of August, I need to start a production. of 1,000 crates, and 19 August I have to start production of 3,000 crates. Why not one production order of 4,000? Because this would be more efficient. I have a larger batch size is always more efficient. This is because I've chosen batches of 1 week. So system would propose now for the 19th. I have a batch for the 15th and I have a batch for the 19th. So the system will just split them up in batches. I also have some parameters that say that my minimum production size must be a certain quantity and my maximum production size must be a certain quantity. The system will take all these parameters into account to calculate that plan. In installing the system, this is always a lengthy task. Setting up the parameters correctly in order to get good results out of that MRP calculation is always is a task that is always lengthy and difficult. But in the end, when proper procedures are installed and where every parameter is being checked and double-checked, you get feasible plans and correct calculations out of the system. And in the ideal world, a planner would, in the morning, come to his desk, get all these results of the nightly MRP calculation, and just execute these plans. Because now I have these plans, and I can say with actions, carry out action messages, I can say, well, just create me firm planned production orders, finished, and the system will calculate, will create production orders based on that plan. Finished. So if I now go back to my home screen, my role center, and I should have now 2 more firm planned production orders. My 2 crates are on there, based planned for August. So I have now 2 productions in my planning, and I have, of course, at the start of August, I will start. I will put these virtuals on microplan and release them to production. Okay, that is the planning forecast, MPS and MRP calculation, and so on. The planning system will also create purchase orders. If the requisition system of an item is purchased, there will be the creation of an automatic creation of a purchase order. I go back to my planning worksheet, and I go back to that carry out action message function. I can have production orders in a certain status. I can have a purchase order. I can make purchase orders. I can also directly print them or put them on email. Or I can use a side step called the requisition worksheet. I will give my planning results to the purchase department on a requisition worksheet, and the purchase department will then do its further work to create purchase orders. And I can also transfer. I also can create transfer orders to transfer stock from one location to another. Let's say that I have 2 sites, one site in Belgium, another site in France, and one of the sites has a shortage of Cronus crates, and the system could propose a planning message to transfer crates from the Belgian site to the French site. That's a possible plan. So transfer orders are also in the scope of the planning system. And in this case, you can create 3 kinds of documents based on the planning. and then the different departments will pick these created documents and carry them out or make sure the goods arrive at the proper place where they should be. Okay, that's the planning. And now fine-tuning the plan. Let's say now that I have in my task lists, I go back to my machine centers. Center, and I go back to my capacities. I go back to my capacities, my work center, my W500 packaging work center here. And I would like to give you an example about load balancing. If I go now to my packaging department, here, that's my packaging department, and I look at the load, then I don't have much overload. If I go to August, somewhere up here I have on Friday the 19th I have a small production load. That's no overload. But let's go to the task list now, and the tasks, I have 3 tasks. I have a release task where this is executed or should be executed should be already done, so it's due. This task is due for a production, but here I have 2 productions for August. Normally this would be a very large list of my plan, and sometimes these productions would overlap. The times of these productions would overlap. I can change the time of my production start here, for instance, to the 12th. No problem. So now I've created a problem, because well, just not created, and start this as 9 o'clock in the evening, and this also at 9 o'clock in the evening. So now I've created a problem. 2 production orders will start at the same time, and this would is not feasible, because I can on that production line, for instance, there can be only 1 production order at the same time. So I have to balance that out. So in this case, it would be possible to plan that a little bit earlier. So I could change my time here, but normally the end time of one process would be the starting time of another. So I can start this at 21:12, and now the system will calculate, and now I have a load of 100% throughout the time, and no overlap anymore. I need to do that manually. That's in the standard system. I need to do that manually, to take one task and to balance out the tasks and to change the starting time and date of the task to the ending time and date of the previous task. And now I can balance out my plan. If this is very good for one routing line, but if you have multiple routing lines, the balancing of one department could lead to unbalance in another department. So I need to keep track of all the unbalances and try to solve them to a feasible plan. The system will not propose a feasible plan for you. There is, of course, the possibility to use capacity-constrained resources, but that would split up production, and in beverage industry, production is not split up. You cannot say I will produce 10 crates now and I will produce 20 crates tomorrow. No, you want to produce 30 crates in one go. So you need to do that balancing. You need to look for overlaps, and you need to do the balancing yourself. In next versions, we are looking at a graphical solution to handle that problem, where you can see the tasks, where you can see the overlaps much more easy than you do now, and where the system will balance out automatically. But that is, of course, in the future. We plan to do that. We plan to add a granule for graphical scheduling. At this moment, you need to do the scheduling manually into these lists. Giving a task to, let's say I have 2 bottling lines, and now my task is for that packaging department. I can not here. I can change on that task. I can change or move the task to another department. So in functions move, I can say, well, I will give that task to a machine center within the work center. So at this task, I've balanced it out, and I will add it to bottling line 1. Okay, now the task is gone, and it's the task which is attached to the packaging department is now added to line 1. And second task, I will also move Now I have to click a lot to get this move, but I can add this function to my my launch bar here. So I only have to click it and move it. So I move this task to bottling line 2. Gone. I only have this task to attend to, and my bottling line 1 and 2 will now have each their task. Okay, that's scheduling and the way where scheduling is being done. It works actually very fine if you have this available. Okay. That's the microplan functionality. Now go further to the processes. I will give you a short explanation about how a production order is being executed, and we will go to the task lists, production order task lists. These are now my production order plan at the moment. I have the production of premium crates, 1000, which is not finished yet. Here you will see all your micro plan, everything what is being released to production. Production orders will have several statuses. Let's start with status planned. They go from planned to firm planned, from firm planned to released, and after production they are stored in the finished production order database, where they are stored for future references and statistical purposes. So this list gives you the list of released production orders. And this is also the list where production employees, they get it on their screen, and they will look, this is their planning. They have to do the first production order, then go to the second, and so on and so on. So let's focus now to just show you one production. Let's focus now on the filling of the premium crate. The operations I'm showing can be done parallel. They don't have to be done serial. So first thing is somebody on the production floor has operations where he can he has operations to complete, and he has a large button to maybe if it is a touch screen, you can push that button to say that this operation is complete. So they start bottling. Normally an MES system would give that information. In the MES system, they start production, they push a button, the MES system will give a signal to the ERP system that they have started the production. Then the production status will go to started, and you can see that on your screen as a planner. Okay, I see that somebody has to go now. Okay, we will go further now. So if so, bye Joseph. Have a very nice evening. So we can complete the operations on an MES system or another screen, but here we can simulate that action by pushing the complete button and say that this operation is complete. There's also a timer that says, well, you started it at 8 o'clock, you ended it at 12 o'clock, we will post 4 hours of operation time to the production order, and also 4 hours of costs to the production order. That's all being done with this function. Now we finished it, and the system can see there was one operation planned, one operation finished. We can also, the next operation is that we tell the system what we have consumed for the production. So the consumption journal is being populated. Production journal is being populated. And you will see here that the list of components that are necessary for to consume that product. This is the components, total quantity of components we need. You can change these quantities if you consumed more or less. Then you can change these quantities, no problem. So you can consume more or less than is actually in the bill of material or in the recipe. And for the bright beer, I can now select pin code, and the system will also only give you bin codes where there is actually stock of that product. So I only have bright beer in bright beer tank 1, so I need to select this one. You also see here required lot numbers. So for items that are tracked, like bottles and labels are not tracked. Crowns and beer is tracked. So these bottles can now be tracked. Click on the lot number and I will have a screen to define which lots I've consumed for that production. Clicking on the assist button on the lot will give me all available lots within that bin code, within that location code. So I only have CBBP 001 with a total available quantity of 9,920 hectoliter. Push OK, system will reserve 80 hectoliter of that. And if I now see here that I've tracked it, I also can track to multiple lots. So I have to here put the crowns there and select a lot number. Here I have 2 lot numbers, and I can select, I need 24,240 of them, so I pick them out of the same lot. Here, okay, so now I have another lot. And now I can post the total consumption. And if all goes well, I can post that. Yeah. Okay, system is warning me now that these I don't have enough empty crates to do that production. So I have to look why. Maybe somebody forgot to post the return of these crates. And so this is an extra check. The system will not allow you to finish up production unless all production consumption is being available. So this could be a lengthy task if people are not doing the work they should be doing. If the person involved with empty crate returnables is not posting the returnables to the correct bin code, then you will wind up with problems. Normally you check these stock levels first before you start production. Okay, when I post that, all the consumption will be posted. I can maybe do in the background small inventory adjustment for that product. It's not tracked, so that is not difficult. Being 911 on production, and I will post 10,000 empty crates here. Okay, done. You don't see that, but I've done that in the background. So now if I post, done. So my consumption has been done. And the last thing I have to do is to post these 1,000 crates of output and put them into stock, or blocked into stock. So I have to give them a lot number. I have to give these crates a lot number, which would be time stamp or something, and I will post these immediately to. Okay, done. Very easy, very fluent. I've now produced 1,000 crates of Coronis Premium, and it is now in inventory, ready to, not ready to sell because we have to do the quality tests first and release that lot of 1,000 crates to sales, but they're in the inventory. Okay, that's our one process. Of course, every process has the same steps. You have operations to finish, time to post, components to consume, and output to post. And these three types of postings will be done for every production order. And they have to be done in sequence. So you have to have wort first in order to create green beer, and so on and so on. So the system keeps track and follows every step of the production process. Okay, last thing, and I want to finish with that, is that the quality system. When output is being posted to the production. From production or from purchase, when stock pluses are being posted and the system and the item is being linked to quality tests, then automatically the system will create quality tests, and we have here the quality tests. In process tests or quarantine tests. So the log tests, this is a list of tests to be done by the quality department. So there's only one here, is the user that asked for the test. And if I double click on the test, I will see which measures must be taken for that test and why the test is for. The quality department gets the list of tests, and the lot number, it goes about lot number L11ALE0004, is being blocked until these tests are done. So you cannot sell the lot number or use it in the further production flow until the lot number is being released. So it's still in quarantine and you have to release it first. You can put it in quarantine, you can have a pass, or you can put it in concession. This means that people can use it further, that the quality manager has taken the decision to not do the tests, but to release the lot anyway, which is of course dangerous. Later on, if there are quality problems, then you have to recall the lot from the market, or the bottles or end products where you used the lot for, you have to recall it from the market, and that's not a good thing. So this is a testing sheet. I have to test extract, color and bitterness. The red measure is a mandatory measure, and it has a fail result at this moment. So I can enter the bitterness. I have to enter bitterness 24, for instance. And this gives me a pass result. So if I validate this test would give me a fail result and would block the lot. So just play a little bit and change the value. Maybe I mistested it. I tested it again, the extract, and oh, I made a mistake, and it's actually 13. When I change that value, I need to give the system a reason code. Why did you change that value? So I did a retest, and I can also give a remark. First test was corrupted, for instance. Yes, and now I have a pass result for the test. When I post my testing sheet, okay, then it is a pass lot test. My test is done. If I now go back to my test list, it's empty. I don't have to test anymore. My work is done for the day, and the lot number is being released for further processing. Within the quality, this is a lot test, so an actual product that is in inventory is being tested. I can also have in-process tests. And in-process tests are tests that test the system, the production system. Tests like measuring the temperature during wort production, during the brewing, and so on. So the system also creates tests for that. And when these tests have a fail result, they will block the production processing. I can also go to these tests, and I also have a testing sheet for in-process tests. They test the process, not the final product. So I can enter a value of 5, for instance, pass, post, and so now is passed, so I can go further. Doing all that, the system of course keeps track of all the tests that I've actually done, and you can have nice statistics about these the testing results. Okay, that's it for today. I think we're out of time at the moment. I hope you have some things to think about, and it was interesting to you. And I'd like to see you back for other webcasts if possible. Thank you.